Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about the Obsidian Sample Plugin Plus and the Obsidian Sample Theme Plus. These are forks of the originals from the Obsidian GitHub repository, or GitHub account I should say. There they are right here. Now what makes these special? Well, the main use case is accelerating your development with tools like Cursor or something like that. And it also automates and automatically lints your projects and helps you reference other similar projects in a very effortless way. So the easiest way to use this is just to create a template with this like you would the standard plugin, and that can be your base upon which you build your plugin. The main thing to really do is open your, in this case I'm using Cursor. You want to open this up and say, refer to agents.md in the agents folder. I want to do this, I want to do Y, what have you, and that way we'll get all that context. What is in the agents folder? So in the new template for the Obsidian sample plugin, there's an agents file in there that's supposed to instruct it on general best practices. So I just took this and took it a step further. I have a completely exhaustive guide on how to properly do do's and don'ts, code patterns, environment, and it's all informed by the Obsidian API, developer plugin, best practices, things like that. And I have a self-updating system as well. There's this .ref folder in here, and this pulls in automatically all of the things that are relevant. So for example, things like the developer documentation. And it will all live in one central repository on your computer, and every time you make a new plugin with this system, it's going to point back at that, and also it can make remote updates. So if you ask Cursor, give me the latest Obsidian API, it's going to automatically go to that repository, pull the latest commits to your device, and then you'll be able to reference that new stuff, update your documentation on the fly, things of that nature. The other component is with this agents.md file, it's going to have a local component where project context will just relate to your project, and the rest of it is basically instructing it where to look for various things, how to bump the version number, how to start a new project. You can tweak this for what best suits your workflow, but I found this to be very helpful for me, so I wanted to share it with you. The last thing to cover is this scripts folder. This is really about just setting up a project once you clone it initially. So once you clone, or not clone, but create a template based on this, you'll want to run the setup ref links, either the shell script or the batch script, depending if you're on Windows or Unix. That's how you determine that. And then ESLint's already set up properly, so you don't actually have to run this, and lint wrapper is set up automatically. But if you wanted to actually run this for an existing project, let's say that you have a project that does not currently use this system, and you don't want to do all the hassle of rebasing it, I'll show you how to port it. So with that out of the way, let's look at an example use case. So I have a plugin called Astro Composer. It's one of the earliest plugins that I worked on, so it's got the most legacy code in it that hasn't been updated as much. It used to look like this, where, by the way, as of the latest version of Obsidian, there's a new settings group feature. So you can see here, it's a little clunky where there's like this button has a settings block around it, and it's not super ideal, but I've taken that and turned it into this, where it's more organized. We're using settings group, and it works. Now, one thing to note on this, versions before Obsidian 1.11.0 will break if you try to do this. So I've created a conditional version of it that detects if you're using an older version of Obsidian, it will look something more like this, and if you're using the current version of Obsidian, it will use that group settings function. So that's an example of one of the things that the agents is trained to do, because I figured there's going to be plenty of people that aren't on the absolute latest version. And by the way, this version of Obsidian is not even out to the public yet. It's just for Catalyst members. So with that preamble out of the way, I want to give you a picture of that. The other most important thing is that really helped me a lot is before I had this system, these were all of the errors that came up when I ran ESLint that I was not able to catch myself. So this has been extremely helpful for cleaning that up. So to walk through this together, I want to take another Obsidian plugin I'm working on called Bases CMS and upgrade it with this new sample plugin plus system. And by the way, something very similar exists for the theme as well, although I haven't gone over that. That's the wrong tab. If you go here, you'll see there's one for theme as well. It's got its own linting system that uses style lint instead of ESLint. Okay, so let's actually get into it. Here is the bases CMS plugin. You can see there's no agents folder or agents file in here. It's missing some of the things from our plugin. This very well may be the state of your plugin. If you already have an agents.md file in there, you can easily replace it if you want, especially if you didn't ever modify it. I would extract anything that you need from it first, I would say, and you can put it in the project context section of the agents file. So take this folder. You don't have to take, you can ignore the GitHub folder unless you want the issues template as well. You can grab that too. But .agents, you want to copy .script, this the scripts folder, the git ignore, this file, this file, this file, and this file. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit there so it's easier to see what I'm copying. So copy these files from the sample plus plugin, and then you'll copy those and insert them into your in progress project. Now, why does it say they're the same? Oh yeah, that's all expected. Yes, I'm replacing the git ignore. I'm replacing some of these other files. So if I open the git ignore, let's see. Oh, did I copy the git ignore? Yeah, I did. Yeah. So this is all good. So next step is, the reason why you want to update the git ignore is because you don't want to include the .ref folder, which you'll be adding. Now that's funny. Oh, there it is. There's the scripts folder. Okay, we're all good. Sorry about that. Now, the first thing to do once these are all copied over is you'll see setup ref links.bat. So I'm going to run this batch file, and you'll run the shell command. And what that's going to do is it's going to find the repositories that are relevant and make sure that they're there. And in my case, they are already there. I already have a central repository with all of them there. But if you don't, it's going to create those and clone those and all that, assuming you have Git installed. So now I have this .ref folder in here, and it's literally linking to a place on my computer that this is a system link folder. So it's in two places at once, sort of, but it's in one central place. So on my hard drive, it's only taking up one slot, but two different places are referencing it. It's the ESLint plugin. It's the Obsidian API, it's the developer docs, plugin docs, sample theme, and a sample plugin as well. And those are all helpful to reference while you're doing development. So that step is done. So for Basis CMS, there are a few other key plugins that have been made that I sort of want to reference. And so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to say, via the .ref guide from the agents folder, please add these as references. And I'm just going to paste some GitHub URLs in here. Add the prefix here just because I'm detail oriented like that, and then hit send. What that's going to do is it's going to find the repositories. It's going to automatically clone them to the central folder on my system, and then it's going to create system links to reference those. And what's great is now I can not only reference the files locally on my computer, but I can give a command, say, hey, grab the latest version of everything in the ref folder. It's going to automatically do a check and do a pull for those things, and as well as the base API, anything that's relevant, the plugins, and it will just know what to do. It will do it. I won't be duplicating repositories a million times in different places on my computer. It's all in one place, and that way I can continue to build the way that I want to build, referencing all the plugins that are relevant. That way you can build plugins that are compatible with other plugins. You can build plugins that stay compliant with the latest, developer documentation, anything like that, and it will actually work. So right now it's creating those system links, and once it's done, we'll pop into the Basis CMS folder and see if they're all there. One of the things this will also do is it will update your agents.md file to include every project that you're referencing, so you have a little list to reference of your references. And so that way, if you ever forget or you ever use a new computer, you're cloning it from a new device, you'll always know which ones you're referencing. So I'm going to go ahead and keep those changes. Let's open the Obsidian Basis ref folder. Here it is. These are all the normal ones that we expect, but now we have a new plugins folder, and here are all the ones that we want to reference, which is great. That means I can say things like, dynamic views came out with a new update. I want to incorporate XYZ feature they did, or I want to make sure that this works natively with folder notes, or something like that. Multi-properties. So you can see here I have this setup eslint.mjs file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a terminal, or you open your shell or whatever you're using, your terminal, and run node scripts, because it's in that folder. Enter. Now what this is going to do is it's going to update your package to basically fit and work properly with the ESLint stuff and all that. So it's going to give you a message and kind of tell you, all right, now try npm install, npm run lint. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to install anything that it doesn't have, and npm install, and it looks like that it worked. And then maybe consider doing npm audit fix if there's issues. That's not really a big deal. And then what I'll do is npm run lint to see if there's any issues with the base's CMS right now. It's going to take a little bit, depending on how many issues you have. Okay, so 120 problems. That's pretty substantial. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix all these issues, and then I'm going to update the group settings, and you'll see this in action. So this is something that will happen if you submit a community plugin. There's going to be a bot that checks your work, and it's going to run this, and it's going to prevent you from publishing it until you address them. So I'm just going to go to our agent here, and I'm going to say, use the plan mode, come up with a plan to fix all of these ESLint issues. Run npm run lint to see if you fixed it. And then just paste what was there, and it's going to go through and fix things. Now, what's great about the .agents folder and the agents.md file is going to provide all the context needed on best practices, how to do this properly. So in case it doesn't pick it up right away, depending on the IDE that you use, whether it's AI assisted or not, it might not catch on to that, it might not see that those agents.md files are there. So as it's building this plan and it looks good and I review it, it looks like it's building a plan for how to fix these things. Next I'm actually going to do is I'm going to call attention and directly call out the fact that they exist. So I'm going to say, this looks great. Please refer to the agents.md file and the files and agents to get a sense of how to lint this properly and improve your plan, and then proceed. All right, so now I'm going to click this button, and hopefully it'll improve the plan a little bit based on what it's finding in the linting fixes guide, things like that. And it will revise the plan to make it even better. And at that point, I'm going to say, go for it, start fixing all these things. So let's see how it does, what it does to fix it. It's identified all 120 of those ESLint issues. It's talking about the different areas to fix. It's currently updating the plan with the more recent context that I gave it. And let's see how it does. Okay, so as you can see, it started to begin fixing these things. The other thing I want to mention to you is it'll come across false positives. The most common ones that I've seen are things like, oh, it's not using sentence case for UI text. And that's because you're using a proper noun and it doesn't recognize that as a proper noun, so it's a false positive. That's one of the things I tried to build into the agent's system to check for things like that so that you're not getting a bunch of false positives. And then at that point, you'll have a smoother experience. Now it's going to run through and make as much of these fixes as possible. It's going to run automatically, see if they're cleaned up, and then run an additional time to see. So let's check that out. All right, so it's going to run the lint within cursor. Let's see how many got reduced to. Hopefully less than 120. Okay, we got down from 120 errors down to 5 errors. That is pretty good. So that was just after the first pass. The first time it executed, it got 115 out of the way. So let's go ahead and see if we can clean up the rest of them. Okay, so it made a small mistake editing something it shouldn't have, but I'm going to keep the rest of the files that are working and tell it to continue with the remainder of the fixes, which should hopefully only be 5. Okay, look at that. After some back and forth, we got linting passed, no issues found, which is great. So it's going to do some cleanup, and then I have a prompt that I'm going to show you in a second. Okay, here are the changes that it makes. So I'm going to go ahead and click Keep All. Now, for my own sake, I noticed it really struggled with the disable comments, so I wrote a prompt saying, please update the documentation to accommodate for false positives. I'm actually being more specific, the .agents documentation, to accommodate for the false positives using the proper ESLint disable comments. but use it only when it's an actual false positive, not as a shortcut to deal with troublesome errors you encounter. All right, so I'm going to prompt this next. I'm going to change it to agent mode. And then based on this, it's going to make some tweaks to the relevant .agent file that I'm actually going to copy into our main sample plugin. So every time I try this out and experiment with it, the sample plugin plus base is getting a little bit better and better, hopefully. So that's the goal, certainly. So I was talking about specifically how to format the instructions for ESLint to disable the comments based on the fixes that it's already struggled through and done. So this guide should hopefully be even more specific and helpful in that regard. Okay, now after all that, thanks for bearing with me. Let's try it again from the beginning. npm install, and then npm run lint. Great. npm run build. Moment of truth. Okay, build is complete. We have release files ready for GitHub releases. That is good news. So now let's copy those over and actually test and make sure everything works. I'm not going to do my full extensive testing in this video. I don't want to put you through that, but I do want to show you, want to at least get things running. Let's turn off basis CMS here in the Obsidian vault that I've got running and turn it back on. No errors, which is good. And it looks like everything is here, at least on a cursory level. Now I want to go in and actually adjust these things and fix them, but for now, I think it's relatively safe to assume that everything's working, and let's just operate on that assumption for now, although I would be going in and actually testing these things. Okay, now the next step is, as you know, things aren't using that settings group like they are for the Astro Composer example that I showed you, or something like UI Tweaker, which kind of displays it more standard. You'd have these headings and then these groups of settings, and we want to upgrade our basis CMS by doing the same thing. The first one will be its own island. The second group would have a group under toolbar buttons. The next one would be under deletions, appearance, quick edit, etc. We can make things look a lot tidier and compliant with the new Obsidian 1.11 system. So let's go ahead and do that. I've actually been maintaining my own prompt for this specific thing, which I can probably share. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new agent, and I'm going to say, in cursor, I'm going to say, please add the conditional group settings feature this plugin. So I'm going to have it again plan and get me kind of an overview of how it's planning on implementing this. And another good thing to do is to ask, what questions do you have before you proceed? That'll help target some of the assumptions that it makes, and you can really be clear about the kinds of changes that you want to make. So let's go ahead and check this plan out. Yeah, looks right. Update the settings tab, replace all manual heading section with this. Yes, that looks good. I'll say, to clarify, the first group will have no heading, and the rest will as expected. So sometimes you can add little qualifiers after it does the initial steps to refine it, make it a bit better. And it's going to go ahead and make those changes now. So hopefully we'll go ahead and be able to execute on this and see if it works. Let's give it a shot. One thing I also like to do is I like to have it run the build command for me. In case it comes across errors, it'll, like it just did, it'll go ahead and fix those errors again, build it again, and then it'll be in a place where we can test it. And if it looks good, then we'll lint it. And if that looks good, then it'll be ready to deploy this update to GitHub. So you'll see this update into the repo here pretty soon. All right, so it went ahead and ran through it. It actually struggled a bit with syntax and then having a certain group setting not be defined for versions before 1.11. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it about what it can learn to improve the settings prompt for future plugins. But before I do that, I want to copy it and verify that our new settings group is active. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck basis CMS, reload the plugin, and reopen it. Looks like the plugin itself is fully functional and working. So I'm going to check out the page and see if we got the group settings. And check it out. Not bad. It's exactly the way that I wanted it to be. So that is good news. I'm going to grab the insights on how to improve it and kind of so hopefully in the future you'll be able to essentially one-shot this approach without much trouble and upgrade your system. So that's a bit of how this system works. It went kind of more back and forth than I expected when I recorded this video, but that's kind of what the risk you take when you record these things. So anyhow, I hope you get value out of it. I didn't at all cover the sample theme plus, but it's very similar in nature, where it's got the built-in .ref system. It's got a style lint tool that you can apply. And if you want to create a brand new plugin, or you want to create a brand new theme, you can use the sample plus to start if you like, or if you want to upgrade an existing theme or plugin that you have, follow the steps earlier and kind of get a sense of what you want to move over, and you'll be able to migrate anything that you have. So anyway, hope you found this useful, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.